distinguish between friend and teachers. So I'll try to project, just so you know, I figured you can watch all positive for the rest of the year.
You're also nice.
Either way, you should have to figure it out.
You have a good projection.
Selling popcorn in the
You can open your bag and pour it in the glass and just soak it. If there are any storytellers out there, stop your conversation and get yourself in your chair. And I'm going to teach you an old liturgical response. Can I move this up, Jason, or is that not allowed?
Yeah, you can make it taller.
I'm going to teach you an old liturgical response we haven't done for a couple of years because people have lost the skill set. But I'm going to sing, "Turn off your cell phones." And you all say, and then you do it.
There's nothing new under the sun.
If anybody's cell phone goes off during the occasion, everybody stands up, points at them, and yells, "Vanity of vanities!" So don't be that person. It looks like now we have the first 3 rows of folks, right? So we're going to get started then. Welcome to, I think this is one of the things we do at the network that's practically not done anywhere else except where the network has sown its seeds. I don't know any other places where you go and you listen to a whole book of the Bible, start to finish in one setting. And so that's one of the wonderful and exciting things that we do here. If you're a first timer and you've never seen it, I think you'll be in for a treat. So we'll be listening to the book of Ecclesiastes. People kind of have the drill and know how they're going to come up and down, right? So if you weren't here when that announcement was made, come up on this side of the mic and then go down on that side of the mic and we'll have a nice traffic flow. All right? If your body tells you you need to leave the room, you can do that. Just do it as quietly as possible. We understand it's an hour event and that might, I'm guessing an hour and 5 minutes is what I picked in the poll of how long it's going to last. So let us begin with a word of prayer, and then we'll have some silence. And Cliff will get us started. Let us pray. Holy and gracious God, send your Spirit over this assembly so that all we say and do might be pleasing in your sight. Inspire us with your word. For those who are telling, give them confidence to trust your story and that you will carry them through this evening. Be with the audience. Their role may be the most important of showing attention and support and love to each teller as they take their turn. May your name be honored in this gathering. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. We'll hold our applause to the end, and it could be that the lights will go out. So just keep silent for the 10 seconds. At least in the cafeteria, the generator popped on. Worst case scenario, if it goes to a half a minute, we'll just keep going, and people will have to project, and because we won't have power. And we'll trust that that's not going to happen, but if it does, we're just going to go forward. I don't think this story was originally told with microphone support. So we'll have a moment to just settle ourselves, and then Cliff will get us going.
The words of the teacher, David's son, King of Jerusalem. Pointless? That's pointless. That's utterly pointless. Everything is pointless.
What do people gain from all the hard work that they work so hard for under the sun? Generations come and generations go, and yet the earth remains as it always has. The sun rises, the sun sets, and it returns panting to dawn again. The wind blows from the south around to the north, around and round, around it blows. And then it returns to blow again. All streams flow to the sea. And yet, the sea is never full. And from the place that rivers flow, they continue to flow. Oh. All words are tiring. No one is able to speak. The eye is not satisfied by seeing, nor is the ear filled up by hearing. What has happened, that's what will happen again. What has occurred, that's what will occur again. There is nothing new under the sun. Some people will say, oh, look at this, it's new. Seriously? That has been around for ages before us. There is no remembrance of the things that are past, nor is there remembrance of the things that will come in the future. Neither will there be any remembrance among those who will come in the future.
I, the teacher, went over King Israel in Jerusalem, applied my mind to seek and to search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given to human beings to be busy with. I saw all the deeds that are done under the sun, and see, all is vanity and a chasing after wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight. What is lacking cannot be counted.
I said to myself, I have acquired more and greater wisdom than all who have gone before me in Jerusalem. And my mind has had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. I set my mind to know wisdom and madness and folly. And I perceived that all this was but a chasing after wind. For in much wisdom is vexation, and those who increase knowledge increase sorrow.
I said to myself, come now, I will make a test of pleasure. Enjoy yourself. But again, this also was vanity. I said of madness, it is silly. And of pleasure, what use is it? I searched with my mind how to cheer my body with wine. My mind still guiding me with wisdom, how to lay hold on folly until I might see what was good for mortals to do under heaven the few short years of their life. I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made for myself parks and gardens with lots and lots of fruit trees in them. I made for myself pools with which to water the growing forest of trees. I got male slaves and female slaves and had slaves born in my house. I got for myself great treasures, herds and flocks, more than any who had gone before me in Jerusalem. I gathered for myself silver and gold, the treasures of kings and of all the provinces. I got singers, men and women, and desires of the flesh, many concubines. So I became great and surpassed all who had gone before me in Jerusalem. Also, my wisdom stayed with me. Whatever my eyes beheld, I did not keep from them. I kept from my heart no pleasure. And this was my reward for all my treasure. Then I considered all that my hands had done and the toil I had spent in doing it. And again, all was vanity and a chasing after wind. For there was nothing to be gained under the sun.
So I turned and considered wisdom and madness and folly. Because what is the heir to the king to do that has not already been done? And I observed that wisdom is of more benefit than folly. Because just as light is more beneficial than darkness, the wise have eyes in their heads, but the fools walk around in darkness. So I thought to myself, what happens to the fool will happen to me as well. So how then have I been so very wise? And I said to myself, everything of this kind is pointless too. There is no everlasting remembrance, not of the wise nor of the fools. Days down the future, all will have been long forgotten. The wise die just like the fools.
So I hated life. Because what is done under the sun was grievous to me, for all is futile. and a chasing after wind. I hated all the toil with which I toiled under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to my successor, and who knows whether he'll be wise or foolish, and yet he will be master of all, for which I toiled and used my wisdom under the sun. This also is futile. And so I turned and gave up my heart to despair. Because sometimes the one who toils with wisdom and knowledge and skill must leave it all to be enjoyed by another who did not toil for it. This also is futile. You know, and an awful injustice. What do mortals earn from all their toil with which they toil under the sun? For their days are full of pain, and their work is a frustration. And even at night, their minds do not rest. This also is futile.
There is nothing better for mortals than to eat and drink and find enjoyment in their toil. This also I saw is from the hand of God. For apart from Him, who can eat or who can have enjoyment? For to the one who pleases Him, God gives wisdom and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner, He gives the work, gathering, and helping. For to the one, only to give to one who pleases God. This also is vanity. And a chasing after wind.
For everything, there's a season. And for every matter under the sun, there's time. A time to be born. And a time to die. A time to plant. And a time to pull out what has been planted. A time to kill, a time to heal. A time to build up and a time to break down. A time to throw stones and a time to gather in the stones. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek, a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to throw away, a time to tear, and a time to sow, a time to speak, and a time, to be silent. There is a time and a season for everything under the sun, a time to love, and a time to hate, a time for war, and a time for peace. What good is all this toil? Pointless, utterly pointless. What good is all this toil? But I see what business God has given y'all to be busy with.
Yeah, I've observed all of the tasks that God has given you to be busy with. And yet, God has made everything in its time so fitting, but also has put the question of eternity in their hearts without the ability to understand all that God has done from beginning to end. So I know the best thing for them to do with their lives is to live it to the fullest, be present. Is that not just the gift of God? For all peoples to enjoy food and drink and the rewards of their hard work. Everything that God has done lasts forever. Nothing can be added. Nothing can be taken away. God has done this so that all may pay reverence and worship God. Everything that has happened has already happened and will happen, and everything that will happen has already happened before, and everything God does over and over and over.
Moreover, I saw under the sun that in the place of justice, wickedness was there. And in the place of righteousness, wickedness was there as well. I said in my heart, God will judge the righteous and the wicked, for he has appointed a time for every matter and every work. I said in my heart, with regards to human beings, that God is testing them to show that they are but animals. For the fate of humans and the fate of animals is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. They have the same breath. And humans have no advantage over animals. None. All go to one place. All are from the dust. And all turn to dust again. Who knows whether the human spirit goes upwards
or the spirit of animals go downwards into the earth. So I saw that there was nothing better than for all to enjoy their work, for that is their lot. Who can come to see what will be after them? Who?
Again, I saw all the oppressions that are practiced under the sun. Look, the tears of the oppressed, with no one to help them. On the side of their oppressors, there was power, with no one to help them. And I thought the dead who have already died more fortunate than the living who are still alive. But better than both is the one who has not yet been, who has not seen the evil deeds done under the sun. Then I saw that all toil and all skill in work come from one person's envy of another. This too is vanity and a chasing after wind. Fools fold their hands and consume their own flesh. Better is a handful with quiet than 2 handfuls with toil and a chasing after wind.
Again, I saw vanity under the sun, the case of solitary individuals, without companions, not even a sibling or a child. Yet their toil never ceases, and their eyes are never satisfied with riches. For whom am I toiling, they ask, and for whom am I denying myself of pleasure? This also is vanity and a very unhappy business. 2 are better than 1, for they receive a good reward for their toil. And if they fall, one can lift up the other. But woe to the one who is alone and falls and has no one to help. Again, if 2 lie together, they keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? And though one might prevail against another, 2 can overcome 1. A 3-fold cord is not quickly broken.
Better is a poor but wise youth than an old but foolish king who will no longer take advice. One can even come out of prison to reign, though born poor in the kingdom. I saw the living, all those who were moving about under the sun, follow that youth who replaced the king. There was no end to all the people whom he led. Yet, those who come later, they won't rejoice in him. Surely this also is vanity, chasing after wind.
Guard your steps when you come to the house of God. To draw near to listen is better than the sacrifices offered by fools, for they don't know how to keep from doing evil. Never be rash with your mouth, or let your heart be quick to utter a word before God, because God is in heaven, and you upon the earth. Therefore, let your words be few. For dreams come with many cares, and a fool's voice with many words. When you make a vow before God, don't delay in fulfilling it, for God has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill what you vow. Do not let your mouth lead you into trouble or sin, or say before the messenger, "It was a mistake." Why should God be angry with your words and destroy the works of your hands? With many dreams come vanities and a multitude of words. But fear God.
If you witness the poor being oppressed or the violation of what is just and right in some territory, don't be surprised, because a high official watches over another one.
And yet others stand over them. But the land's yield should be for everyone if the field is cultivated. The king himself profits from the field.
The money lover isn't satisfied with money, nor is the lover of wealth satisfied with income. This too is pointless.
When good things increase, so do those who consume them. But what benefit are they to their owners except to feast their eyes on them?
The worker's sleep is sweet, whether there's a lot or a little to eat.
But the excess of the wealthy won't let them sleep. I have seen a sickening tragedy under the sun.
Oh, yeah. People hoard their wealth to their own detriment.
And then that wealth is lost in a bad business venture, so that when they have children, they are left with nothing.
Just as they come naked from their mother's womb, so they must depart naked, ending up just as they started.
All their hard work produces nothing. Nothing they can take with them in their hands. This, too, is a sickening tragedy.
They must pass on as they began, naked. What do they gain then from working so hard for wind?
What's more, they constantly eat in darkness with much aggravation, grief, and anger.
This is the one good thing I've seen. It's appropriate for people to eat and drink and find enjoyment in their daily toil under the sun during the brief lifetime that God gives them.
Because that is their lot in life. What's more, when God gives people wealth and riches and enables them to enjoy it, to accept their place in the world and to find pleasure in all their hard work, all this is God's gift.
Indeed. People shouldn't brood too much over the days of their lives because God gives an answer in their heart's joy.
There's an evil that I've seen with my eyes under the sun. And it lies heavy on humankind. There are those for whom God has given wealth and possessions and honor. I mean, basically, their every desire. And yet God does not enable them to enjoy it. But a stranger enjoys it. This is pointless. It's futile. A grievous ill. It sucks. A man may beget 100 children and live for many years, and no matter the many days of those years he lives, if he does not enjoy the good things or even have a burial, I say that a stillborn is better off than he is. You see, it all comes from futility, and it goes into the darkness. And the darkness covers over its name. And it never sees the sun, nor knows anything. And yet it finds rest and not he. You know, someone, moreover, could live for 1,000 years, twice over, and yet not enjoy anything. And yet our end is the same, isn't it? So, all our toil, it's for the mouth, and yet our appetites are never satisfied. So what advantage does the wise one have over the fool? And if a poor person who even respects all people, I mean, what's the point? You know, it's better to be satisfied with what you see than to wander after your desires. Because it's all pointless. And the chasing after the wind.
Whatever has come to be has already been named. And it's known what human beings are, and that they are not able to dispute with those who are stronger. The more word, the more vanity. So how is one the better? For who knows what is good for mortals while they live the few days of their vain life, that they pass like a shadow? For who can tell them what will be after them under the sun?
A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death better than the day of birth. For everyone goes this way, and the living will lay it to heart. Sorrow is greater than joy. For the heart of gladness, for the heart of gladness, it comes from sadness of countenance. The heart of fools goes into the house of mirth, but the heart of the wise into the house of mourning. The laughter of fools is like the sound of crackling thorns under a pot. This also is vanity.
But oppression turns the wise into fools, and a bribe corrupts the heart. The end of something is better than its beginning. Patience is better than arrogance. So don't be too quick to get angry. And don't ask, how is it that former days are better than these? It's not wise to ask that. Wisdom is as good as an inheritance, an advantage to those who see the sun. The protection of wisdom is better than the protection of money, because the protection, knowledge preserves, because the knowledge preserves those who possess wisdom. So consider God's work. Who can make straight what God has made crooked? So when times are good, enjoy the good. And when times are bad, consider God has made both the former and the latter, so that no one will be able to see what will become after them.
In my vain life, I have seen everything. There are righteous people who perish in their righteousness. And I have seen wicked people who have belonged and longed their life in their evil doing. Now, do not be too righteous. Do not act too wise. Why should you destroy yourself? And do not act too wicked. Do not be a fool. Why should you die before your time? It is good to take hold of one without letting go of the other, for the one who fears God shall succeed at both. Go figure. Now, wisdom gives strength to the wise. More than 10 rulers in the city. I can't believe this happened. Pointless.
Surely, it's embarrassing. Surely there is no one so righteous as to do good without ever sinning. I'm losing it here. I better concentrate. Do not take heed to everything people say, for you may hear your servant curse you, and in your heart you know that you yourself have cursed others. Just saying. Now, more bitter than death is the woman, the woman whose heart, she's a trap, and her heart is snares, and nets, and whose hands are chains. But for the one who pleases God, escapes her. But the sinner, the sinner is taken by her. See, this is what I have found, the teacher says. Adding one thing to another, to find the sum of things and wisdom, which I have sought needlessly and forever, but I have not found. One man in 1,000 I have found, but a woman among all of these, I have not found. This alone I have found, that God has made human beings straightforward, but they have devised many schemes.
Who is like the wise person? And who can know the interpretation of a thing? Wisdom makes one's face shine and changes the hardness of one's countenance. Keep the king's command because of your sacred oath. Do not be terrified. Go from his presence. Do not delay because the matter is unpleasant. Because he does whatever he pleases. Because the word of the king is powerful. And who can say to him, "What are you doing?" Whoever keeps a command will meet no harm. And the wise mind will know the time and way, because for every matter there is a time and way. Although the troubles of mortals lie heavy upon them, indeed, they do not know what is to be, because who can tell them how it will be? No one has power over the wind to restrain the wind, or power over the day of death. There is no discharge from the battle. And wickedness does not deliver those who practice it. All of this I observed, applying my mind to all that is done under the sun, while one person exercises authority over another to the other's hurt. Then I saw the wicked buried. They used to go in and out of the holy place and were praised in the city where they had done such things. This also is vanity.
Because sentence of an evil deed is not executed speedily, the human heart is fully set to do evil. Though sinners do wicked things 100 times and prolong their lives, yet it will go well with the righteous because they fear God. They stand in fear before God, but it will not go well with the wicked. Neither will they prolong their days like a shadow, because they do not fear God. There is a vanity that happens on earth, that there are righteous people who are treated according to the conduct of the wicked, and there are wicked people who are treated according to the conduct of the righteous. This also is vanity. So I commend enjoyment, for there's nothing better for people under the sun than to eat and drink and enjoy themselves, for this will go with them in their toil through the days on earth that God gives them under the sun. When I set my mind to know wisdom, to know the business that happens on earth, where one's eyes see sleep neither day nor night, then I saw the work of God, that no one can understand what happens under the sun. However much they may toil in seeking, they will not find it out, even though those who are wise claim to know, they cannot find it out.
So I considered all of this carefully, examining it all. The righteous and the wise and their deeds are all in God's hand. So are love and hate. The same thing happens to all. People have no idea what's ahead of them. Everything is the same for everyone. The same fate awaits the righteous and the wicked, the good and the bad, the pious and the pure and the impure, those who sacrifice and those who don't sacrifice. A good person is like a wrongdoer. The same holds for those who take a solemn pledge, for those who are afraid of swearing. This is the sad thing about everything that happens under the sun. The same fate awaits everyone. Moreover, the human heart is full of evil. People's minds are full of madness while they're alive, and then they die. Those who are among the living can be certain of this. A living dog is definitely better off than a dead lion. Because the living know that they're going to die. The dead don't know anything. They have no more reward. Their memory is lost. Their love and their hate and their zeal, are already long gone. They no longer have a share in all that happens under the sun.
So go. Eat your food joyfully and drink your wine happily. For God has already long ago accepted what you do. Let your garments always be white, and do not run short of the oil for your head. Enjoy life with your dearly loved spouse all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun. All your meaningless life. For this is your part to play in this life, and in all the hard work under the sun. So whatever you are capable of doing, do it with all your might. For in the realm of the dead, where you are going, there is neither working nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom.
Also, I saw under the sun that the race is not won by the swift, or the battle by the strong, or the bread by the wise, or the wealth by the intelligent, or favor by the skillful. But time and chance fall upon them all, for no one can anticipate the time of disaster, like a fish caught in a cruel net, or birds in a snare. And so mortals are snared at a time of disaster when it suddenly falls upon them.
I also saw the following example of wisdom under the sun, and it impressed me greatly. There was a small town with just a few residents in it, and a mighty king came against it, surrounded it, and waged a terrible war against it. Now there lived in this town a poor but wise man, and he saved everyone by his wisdom. Yet nobody remembered the man. So I thought, wisdom is better than might, but the wisdom of commoners is despised, and their words are not heeded. The calm words of the wise are better heeded than the racket caused by the ruler among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one incompetent person destroys much good.
dead flies make the perfumer's ointment give off a foul odor. So a little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. The heart of the wise inclines to the right, but the heart of a fool to the left. Even when fools walk on the road, they lack sense and show to everyone that they are fools. If the anger of the ruler lies against you, you do not leave your post. For calmness will undo great offenses.
There is an evil that I have seen under the sun, as great an error as if it came from the ruler.
Yeah. There is folly in high places, richer in low places. Like, I have seen a slave riding on horseback and a prince walking on foot like a slave. Yeah.
Well, you know, whoever digs a pit will fall into it.
Yep. Yep. Whoever breaks through a wall is like get bit by a snake.
Well, whoever quarries stones is going to get hurt by them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and chopping wood.
Yeah.
Anyone who splits wood's in danger from it. We need OSHA.
Well, if the axe is dull and one does not sharpen the blade, then more strength has to be exerted.
Yep. Yep. Well. But you know what?
What?
Wisdom helps one succeed.
Work. Pointless. It's all pointless.
You know, it's sad when a land has a king with the maturity of a toddler. And when the rulers seemingly right away just get drunk on power. Sweet, though, the land where the king is dignified, and the rulers thirst after leadership qualities rather than dominance. You've probably heard the expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you need to take that one with a grain of salt, because an ounce of prevention is easily worth that pound of cure. Feasting, imbibing, can lift the spirit, and prosperity can lead to some gratification, because believe it or not, money does make for possibilities. You need to be careful. You might think that you can curse the king in your mind, or badmouth the rich and powerful in secret, but you got to remember, the clock ticks. The chirping of those little birds goes everywhere. And even your face can be read like a book.
Send out your bread. Send out your bread. Send out your bread upon the waters. For after many days, it may come back to you. And divide your means 7 ways. Or even 8. For you do not know. You do not know when disaster may happen on the earth. The clouds become full and they empty rain on the earth. And whether the tree falls to the north or to the south, the place where the tree falls, that place, there it will lie. No kidding. Those who observe the wind will never sow, and those who regard the clouds will never reap. Just as you do not know. You do not know where, how the breath comes to the bones in the mother's womb. So you do not know the works of God, who makes everything. So in the morning, sow your seed. And in the evening, do not let your hands be idle, for you do not know. You do not know. You do not know which work will prosper, whether this or that, or maybe both of them alike.
Light is sweet, and it is pleasant for the eyes to look into the sun. And for those of you who have lived many years, rejoice in them all. But remember that
the days of darkness will be many. For all that comes is vanity. Rejoice, my young friends, in your youth. Let your hearts cheer you on in the days of your young time. Follow all the inclinations of your heart and the desires of your eye. But know that all these things God will bring into judgment. Put away the anxieties of your mind and the pain of your body. For youth and the dawn of life are vanity.
So remember your Creator in the days of your youth, all you young people, before the days of trouble come, and the years draw near in which you will say, I have no pleasure in them. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars are darkened, and the clouds come with the storms. In the day when the guards of the house tremble, and the strong men are bent, when the women who grind cease working because there are so few of them, and those who look through the windows only see dimly. Before the doors and the street are shut and the sound of grinding is low, and one arises at the sound of a bird, and all the daughters of song are brought low. When one is afraid of heights, and there are terrors in the street. The almond tree blossoms, and the grasshopper drags itself along, and desire fails. Because all must return to their Creator, and all are lost. And the days of one's youth are gone. Before the silver cord is snapped and the golden bowl is broken, before the pitcher at the well is broken and the wheel is broken at the cistern, and the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the breath returns to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity.
The teacher said,
this side. Repeat after me. Pointless, pointless, perfectly pointless.
Pointless, pointless, perfectly pointless.
This side. Pointless, pointless, perfectly pointless.
Pointless, pointless, perfectly pointless.
Everything is pointless. Now, this teacher was also very wise and was constantly imparting wisdom to the people. Now, this teacher, she searched and she investigated and she listened. This teacher, oh, they composed wonderful proverbs. This teacher looked for pleasing words. Pleasing words. Pointless, pointless. And wrote truth in those words. And wrote honestly.
The sayings of the wise are like goads, and like nails firmly fixed are the collected sayings that are given by one shepherd. Of more than this, my child, beware. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Worship God and obey his commandments, for this is the whole duty of everyone. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil.
All right, we're going to begin a time of we call it a talk back, where we get an opportunity to reflect on what we've experienced. And so that everyone in the room gets a chance to do that, I want you to, once you collect your own thoughts, just turn to one or two people next to you and give you a few minutes to converse amongst yourselves so everybody gets to use their voices. All right? Start wrapping up your talk for a minute. All right. Oh, that worked. I thought it was going to be pointless. So what we'll do is, this is the talk back, and really it's a chance for you all to share your experience and what stood out to you in the experience. We're using one mic, and I know some of you think, but I have a voice which everyone can hear, I don't need a microphone, but this is being broadcast, and the people in the room might hear you, but the people on the on live stream won't. So we're going to be running the mic back and forth to people as they need it. So is there somebody who would like to get us started? Just raise your hand, and you're gonna. I think you're gonna stand up and you're gonna use the mic. Oh, are you doing my running?
Yeah, I'm the
Sarah.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Paul's
I'm
got
trying
it.
to kill Sarah. Just kill Sarah.
I mean, you know, one of the problems with everybody telling different stories, you can't really say which one is your favorite because they're all so good. But I like the dual tellings, the two that were kind of the people conversating with each other, and then the two kind of hillbilly kind of conversating with each other as well.
Construction worker.
Yeah, the construction. What was, so especially that one, I'd like to know if there was an inspiration or how that came about.
They're over here.
Yeah, I see them. They've got good shirts.
Well, this was not our first choice. I don't know how we were at the second right, but we got our second choice, and so he looked at it.
Well, frankly, this looks to me like a conversation between my uncles.
There you have it, from the source. Somebody else? Well, I'm thinking we'll probably go about 20 minutes if that helps you to know if you're going to speak or not. It went up an hour and 15 minutes, so
Oh, you
it was a
lost the
little.
pool.
I lost the pool, yeah. Luckily, I was the only one in it, so actually I was the closest.
Jim, when Kathy was telling, I felt there was a pivot in going from, you know, like, it's all meaningless anyway. So what's the use? But then turning it around to do everything as best you can. I thought, yeah, I thought that came across very strongly.
I appreciated the humor and how everything got twisted a little bit, and then some modern verbiage in there that we could relate to, like really, and a few things like that. So, but the fact that you all, the tellers, put humor and a twist in there that actually brought it into reality, and then it brought it into today's life with the extra verbiage.
And I just wanted to say, for those who don't know, that there was tremendous adverse technical issues. And we had to really kind of sort them out in short order, because we had about a half an hour to run through things. And I really want to thank Jason, Mike, and
Megan. I have just a question for the audience. So we do these every year, and sometimes it's a real box of chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get. But this year, I would like to know from you guys, did a lot of it feel like it was directed by the same director? Because I saw a lot of choices that were very similar. I don't know who to. I don't know if I would. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I fell asleep and was dreaming. But it felt like, the use of the hands and the use. I don't know. It just felt like it had been directed by somebody, and of course it wasn't. We just all brought our own choices, but it was interesting to me. I don't know. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, I think maybe it's, there's a lot of repetition. And so either people saw what people before them had done, and they thought, I'll continue, I'll kind of echo visually, or sometimes orally, what they had done. Or that's just sort of the natural, a gesture, for the things that kept being repeated.
Or was it a pattern?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of binary in this, for sure. I'm going to mention that tomorrow, actually. But yeah, I think some of that probably came naturally just because of what was being said over and over and over again. But I think there might have been, whether it was intentional or not, maybe some picking up on or mirroring what some of the tellers before had done as well.
I suspect it also because of the mic and not being able to move around, it just kind of brought the aesthetic together. Usually people are wireless and can use the whole stage, and so if this is your first time, and just again, kudos to the storytellers, because when you rehearsed it one way, and then you come and they say, oh, by the way, there's a mic stand, and you'll be using it. It's a big shift. So we have one here and then Tim. Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you to the storytellers. And my sister and I talked about the way that many of the tellers used humor in what they said. But I found myself thinking how much humor Solomon or the sages that wrote in Solomon's name had. It is a very funny book. And I had to think that the actual authors had a lot of humor to write that.
Yeah. It's way in the back of the room.
Oh, should I go to Tim first?
Oh, okay. You're next.
Trying to be fair here.
Just to say, I'm glad Ecclesiastes is in the Bible, but I'm also glad it's not the only book.
So I just wanted to say, I was really appreciative of the elder tellers in the group. As a children's ministry, family ministries director, over the last 6 years, the number of times when I go to find volunteers, I hear over and over, we've done our time, we're done. So to hear elders telling stories
voluntarily is a really beautiful and soul blooming thing. So thank you very much to the elders.
I so appreciated the diversity of tellers, and when I first read this book, it's just like, I'm so depressed, and I was walking around telling everybody, I just think this is so depressing. But what you brought forth today completely changed my perception, because I feel like what you showed us is across time and across gender and ethnicity and age, that this tells us it's kind of like the instruction manual for how to live this one life that God has given us. It's like, don't get all caught up in all this other stuff that's meaningless. You don't have to figure it all out, because at the end of the day, what was the last few lines? Worship God and obey His commandments. So thank you for wiping away the, oh, this is sad, and reminding me that in this book, it's even laying out for me what my purpose is, but to worship God and obey His commandments. Thank you.
Well, with respect, I don't think that there's any epic telling that has ever more powerfully and exactly fit the era in which we are living right now. And I think we needed it, and I think we heard it, and it's sort of like the pep talk before you're going over the top from the trench. This is the world we live in, and we are to, as you say, live our life, obey God, but thank you for choosing this epic for 2022.
Thank you. First of all, I really thought, oh, this is such a strange book for us to choose and to listen to. But by the end, I had this, it seemed to me anyway, that this is a book where we as, it's like humans discussing and questioning and wondering about life. And what other book in the Bible do we get our voice to question and to express the challenges and the difficulties and sometimes the questions that we have. So I came away feeling it's right. It should be in the scriptures, and it's good that we can actually ask those questions. And I'm glad the Bible's got a book where it's being asked, because we need to do that. So thank you.
Hands up, 7 up.
Thank you, everybody. Today, I felt like I heard a symphony of ecclesiastics. Yeah, I came here to take a photo for my friends. But I listened very carefully all chapter of the Ecclesiastics. Keep his comments. It's my memory here. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, Tom stole it out from Michael Brower.
Just an observation about the appropriateness of this book for the Network of Biblical Storytellers International. The wisdom tradition was an international tradition. The wise men of Israel were in conversation with the wise men of Greece and Rome and Mesopotamia and Egypt. And so it was a very international genre. So for us to live into this international discourse is a really appropriate thing for us to do as a community of
Biblical Storytellers International.
Amen.
So this is kind of an oddball technical thing, but I got my scripture late. So when I was learning it, I looked at the first line that it was in mine was, "A good name is better than precious ointment." What? Precious ointment? And believe it or not, all the commentaries I read, nobody had anything other to say than, "Whoa." But tonight, as I sat back here listening, who was it that had the line, "Spot flies spoil a perfume"? That's when I heard the connection. When the flies spoil the ointment or the perfume, it smells well. And then the next line of mine is, "And death is better than life or birth." And so for me, even after studying it, reading the whole book through twice, I never heard that connection until I heard it with my ears.
I'm going to go to you and then I'll go back to you, Dennis.
And then Dennis will have the last word before I have.
I think before we go to bed, I think a big shout out needs to go to our Korean sisters who, each one of you came up here and you were present, and we were present, and you were in the moment, so we became in the moment, and we hung on your every word. We really did, and it was one of the most special things I've ever experienced here, and you too. You had the money notes. You had the good one. But yeah, you guys just all really made this a very special evening, I thought, and words can't describe it, so I won't. It's useless.
As I walk this mic to Dennis, I just want to share, I sat in the front with an 8-year-old and a 15-year-old, and for 40 minutes, they were completely enthralled. And I think that's what success looks like, is when young people are drawn into the story too. They may not have stayed till the end, but they were here for much of it. And I think that's important.
So much of what we do here it involves a great deal of planning, and so much also involves, at the opposite end of the spectrum, making things up on the fly. So I think it was a month and a half ago that Shelley called me and said, "Would you do a choir?" And so I put together this piece based on Ecclesiastes. And so this is by way of invitation for you to bring. It's in your folder. So for worship tomorrow. And then there was a bit of a problem because I don't listen well. And Lori, who's a wonderful worship planner, had us sing it during communion. And we just had a conversation coming down the stairs. And I said, "Did you read the words?" Pointless. It's not really a communion. And she was gracious enough to say, "Okay, well, we'll switch it to the opening hymn slot and we'll sing It Is Well With My Soul during communion." But I want to say, and I don't want to take the time because there's no time tomorrow in worship to say, that in addition to these people who have done so well tonight, the choir is amazing. Yesterday I thought, maybe we'll just sing something simple. And they said, no, we're going to sing this. And so I would, because of their work, I would like to invite you to bring that along with you tomorrow. And if you want to sing along, you're welcome to, but at least follow along with the words so that you can hear Koheleth in another medium.
Altos and tenors beware.
We don't have a mechanism for people who've been watching online to speak directly to you. That was a little bit beyond the scope of what we were doing, but they sent word saying how much they appreciated being included in this way. We know that for a lot of people, it was a really hard decision not to be here among us. And so the little windows and doors we were able to open up into what's going here have been a gift for them. And so thanks to those who made that possible. When the talkback ends, the talkback doesn't end, because you're going to keep talking, right? And I would encourage you, the tellers don't, some of you have told, and you know that you spend over a month preparing for it, and don't even maybe get this much feedback. And so if you see somebody in the hall and you remember their telling and something that you thought was special about it, that's a really good opportunity to just say, thank you so much, the gift you brought me was really precious. So with this, let's close with a prayer, and then I'll send you on your way to eat, drink, and be merry, or to obey God. Whichever you're moved to do. Or both, or both. Holy and gracious God, we waited patiently and hopefully that listening to this piece of your word would bring us a gift. And you sent one our way. Thank you so much. Amen. Amen. The next thing is lighting the fire at 9 o'clock. I think you have about 12 minutes, maybe? Just guessing? 15 minutes? So it's in here this time, okay? So that's good to know. Get a good night.